Hello, everyone. I say hello, everyone. There's no one there at the minute. Um, but welcome to the Things Network, to Simply Spooky. As you can tell, I'm on my own. The boys are not with me. Dan is celebrating his wedding anniversary tonight. He's been married for 20 years. So, congratulations to Dan and his wife on your wedding anniversary. So, I'm hoping you're having a good time this evening. Jamie, as usual, he's on his way home from work. He may or may not pop on a little bit later, but we shall see. I have somebody on the chat, and Lois, she says she might join me in a couple of minutes, but Lois hasn't been feeling very well, so I won't hold it against her. So let me know who's there in the chat by saying hi. If you fancy coming on and chatting with me about witches, I will put a link in the chat now for you, so you're more than welcome to join me. I did do some homework on some witches, and you'll be pleased to hear and see that I did some research into the Witches of Warboys. Now, the Witches of Warboys is something that happened very close to where I live, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of the Witches of Warboys, and I'm also going to have a look at what Wikipedia and Google is saying about the story as well, because there have been quite a few different stories that have been flying around about the Witches of Warboys. So it's quite an interesting one. If you just bear with me for 1 minute, I am going to share this out, because it's something that I didn't get to do. Normally Dan does all the introductions, and I get to do the sharing. So I haven't done that as such yet, but I am just on it now, so bear with me. So, the Witches of Warboys, what is all that about? Well, it was during a time in England when the fashion of executing witches came into play, and Matthew Hopkins was travelling all around East Anglia and putting ladies to death. Hello,
Hello, Mrs.
how are you?
Yes, grand. How's everything?
Yeah, not bad.
Where's Grandad and boy?
Granddad's off gallivanting because it's his wedding anniversary.
Oh, Christ, I
And
forgot Grandad's tied to the chair the night with the wife.
and Jay's at work, so I should imagine on his way home from work we may or may not see him
Okay.
for a little bit. But I was just sharing this out, and I was about to go into the story of the Warboys witches.
Ah,
So,
so I came on at a good time.
well, I don't know. Might be a
Uh,
boring story for everyone.
Sorry, I'll share it as well. Will you? Yeah, as well.
So I live in a place, or very close to a place called Huntingdon. And Huntingdon is the birthplace of Oliver Cromwell. That's what it's famous for. So, hi, William. William Becker is in the chat.
Hey.
Witches are always a good time, Viv. Oh, thank you, Robin. So, um, so yeah, in Huntingdon, and Oliver Cromwell did come to my local town where I live, and he executed one lady. Now, in all the records, because they keep records in the local parish that subsequently were forwarded to the parish or the council, which was Cambridge. And in the archives, it does talk about the one lady that was executed here in my town, but because she was such a prominent lady, they didn't name her, and very little is written about her. So I went and looked to my next town, which is very close by to me, is a place called Warboys. And in Warboys, there was a lady and her two daughters that was executed for witchcraft. And there are conflicting stories about this, but what I'll read what is written in Google about that. So, the Witches of Warboys. It says the Witches of Warboys were Alice Samuel and her family, who were accused and executed for witchcraft between 1589 and 1593 in the village of Warboys in the Fens of England. One of many witch trials in the early modern period, but scholar Barbara Rosen claims it attracted probably more notice than any other in the 16th century. So the overviews. The first allegations were made in November 1589 by Jane Throckmorton. That's a good name, isn't it, Throckmorton?
That is actually.
The 9-year-old daughter of Robert Throckmorton, the Squire of Warboys. So again, it's involving kids accusing ladies of witchcraft.
Uh-huh.
Where have we heard that before?
Oh.
So when the Squire of Throckmorton Warboys, when she started suffering from fits, she accused the 76-year-old Alice Samuel of being the cause of this, and was echoed by Jane's 4 sisters and the same household servants who began exhibiting similar symptoms. When Alice Samuels was brought forward to the children, they became more ill and had the urge to scratch her. Okay. So, Robert Throckmorton was a close friend of Sir Henry Cromwell, one of the wealthiest commoners in England, and the grandfather of Oliver Cromwell. In March 1950, Lady Cromwell came to the Warboys to visit. At the Throckmorton house, she interviewed Alice Samuel, and what came after the interview served to confirm the suspicions that the Throckmortons had. Lady Cromwell was tormented by Alice Samuel in her dreams, and after some time she became ill and died, buried 1592. This was enough proof to put Alice Samuel through trial that would find her and the rest of her family guilty. So, let me just explain to you something about this. So, in Warboys, there is a rectory in a lovely church, and in that rectory is where Alice and her family lived. And her husband, I think, was the rector of Warboys Church. When Alice, and her 2 children were executed, her husband took up with some other lady and was married very, very quickly thereafter. So it seems to me there was a bit of a conspiracy that went on to accuse his wife and his daughters, because the daughters were also included in this. They were all hanged out, a public hanging that happened. And the minute they were gone, he was free to marry whoever he wanted. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, and you can see in this story, again, the accusers were children,
Yep.
talking about suffering from fits, having the urge to scratch. And so when they were arrested, not just Alice, but her children as well, they were all given the trial of ordeal. So they were tortured until they confessed that they were witches. And once they had that confession, they were hung. Like here in England, we hung, despite what you hear anywhere else. Here in England, we hung all our witches. I don't know
Yep.
about in Scotland. Was it the same for you
In
guys?
Scotland, they were burned. Some of them were burned. I'll double check that, but I do know because I was out in an investigation, and I sensed that they had been bewitched, and I started feeling really warm, like I was getting burned. But yeah, mostly the ones in Scotland were burned for obviously the reasons, and you always had to feel like felt sorry for, like, you could be the oddest person in the row of the village, back then.
Yeah,
And you didn't need, I mean, you would have never been interested. These people maybe have never ever been interested in witchcraft, but because they didn't fit in with society, they were seen as witchcraft. So
yeah.
some of these people were innocently burned.
Yeah, they did a thing here when Anthony Hopkins, Matthew Hopkins was touring the country of England and especially around East Anglia. He was paid to burn witches. So the councils or the local parishes would call him in. We have talk of witches here, and he was paid per person he killed. But you had to prove that these people were witches. So they concocted this torture that was ridiculous.
Mhm.
I know that they used, they would look for like the third nipple. These were these trials that they would put these poor women through. So to prove that they were a witch, they'd look for a third nipple. Now, a mole or a skin tag, if you had
Mhm.
one of those on your body, it doesn't have to be in the chest area. If you had it anywhere, it was considered a third nipple.
I
So
know.
you were found guilty by you having your third nipple. Then they would do this thing where they would keep them awake. They wouldn't let them sleep and kept them walking round and round and round, which I believe is a form of torture that they use today to get confessions out of spies and all sorts of things. But keeping people awake was another one. Um, they would also duck, the ducking stool, the famous ducking
Yeah.
stool. Now in Moorboys there is a ducking pond, but that wasn't used. But they would duck, put these ladies on a chair, and they would duck them into the pond. If they sank to the bottom and drowned, they were found not guilty. But if they floated to the top and survived, they were guilty of witchcraft. So they were doomed before they even started. Right? The ducking chair happened. The
It's
other thing. Go
it's
on. We just
funny how, like, in the 21st century, it's more acceptable than it was back then. I mean, the last person in Britain to be tried was Janet Horne. In 1727, her and her daughter were arrested and jailed in Dundalk in Scotland.
really.
Hmm.
I know that there was a lady that was accused of witchcraft during the Second World War. So it was in 1940 something. And I forget the lady's name now, but she was actually thrown into prison on the England's Witchcraft Act and was found
Oh
guilty.
wow!
Yeah. Oh God, Dan would know her name. But as far as I know, the Witchcraft Act of England is still in existence. You can still get found
Really?
guilty. Yeah, it's not seen to be the done thing these days, but um, yeah, the Witchcraft Act is one the government can use at any time. They could pull that one out of the bag of tricks and throw it at somebody if they
That
had to, I
that's
suppose.
crazy. You would think now in the 21st century, where you find actually there is more witches and pagans and Wiccans out there, that,
I
including
know.
myself, that that you would think to yourself, that act's well long gone. I didn't even know that. Actually, that's an interesting fact.
Helen Duncan. Thank you, Robin. Yes, it's Helen Duncan. She was accused of witchcraft, found guilty, and put in prison. You know, if they couldn't find anything on her for spying, so they got her on witchcraft and just got rid of her.
How easy is it though to turn around and say, yeah, oh, I have this bad curse over the top of me. That witch did it, and they were just like, yeah, right, you're a witch, not even like listening to the story, you're a witch, you need to go.
Well, it's quite strange because on the news today, on our local news, there was a man that is being tried for treason. He was
Wow.
arrested and is going to trial for treason. And you know what he did? He broke into Windsor Park Castle on Boxing Day with a crossbow looking for the Queen and threatening to kill.
Oh, in fact, no, that must be a different one. What one were we talking about recently? Was that not the one that woke up? The Queen woke up and found at the end of her
Well, it was
bed,
the,
and she
yeah,
started
yeah,
just talking away like it was normal.
yeah. No, that's another one. This happened last year. On Boxing Day, he broke into Windsor Castle looking for the Queen with a loaded crossbow, threatening to kill her. And she, of
Oh,
course, she's not there. She's at Sandringham, isn't she? Every Christmas.
I can imagine that guy. That guy's effort in planning. It turns out she's not even in the right place.
No.
That's crazy. That is absolutely nuts. Helen Stride.
Yeah. So, going back about the trials and the ordeals, I know that they would use a form of torture, not just for witches, but right
Yep.
across the heresy thing and everything. They would get red hot pokers and they would burn the soles of people's feet,
Oh,
was one of them. They would put, well, they would stretch, they would burn, when I say burn, putting hot poles and hot stones on them, the drowning thing, the water torture also happened, with the little drips on the heads,
yeah,
starving them, starving them of sleep, not feeding them, of course, not giving them anything to drink. It was just ridiculous. And of course, like when you get to a certain point, you are going to break and you're going to admit to anything just so this ordeal ends.
yeah.
But little did they know that they were then taken to be executed and they were put in the back of carts. And obviously, you cannot touch a person accused of witchcraft. So what they would do, they'd put them in this. I don't know what the contraption was called, but it was like a thing that went round the
Oh,
neck, a
is
piece of
that
wood.
that's a guillotine?
No,
Gull.
it would lock round their neck, and it had a long pole attached to it. So you
Ah,
had them
right.
at the end of it, sort of like so you could shove them around. So yeah, they would put them in carts. Chantel in the house, whoop 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 whoop. Whoop. And so they were put into the carts and dragged through the streets, or sometimes they were made to walk with this thing around them,
Yeah,
and they were pushed through the streets where people would boo and jeer and throw things at them, taken to their place of execution, and led to be hung. And they would do quite a few women at once. They wouldn't necessarily do one at a time because the scaffold was expensive to put up there. So they'd
that's
get
true.
three or four, or make a bit more of a feature of it, so more people would come to watch the execution,
Aye.
and they would make it. People would come out with their families
Uh-huh.
and make a day of it just to watch somebody being executed in England. We were like
Uh,
nasty, nasty people. We were.
that's absolutely. I mean, you just kids like going back to them. There was many like kids that were protected as well because they used to think that kids were witchcraft and honestly, do you know what I've really got to admire? I used to do articles on um SGA forums, and I would pick a subject every week. And what I would do is I would write articles.
Yeah,
So I thought I would delve into the unknown of what people don't like to talk about, and that's Satanism, occult, and demonology. So I thought, right.
and that is funny.
Do you know, I was thinking that myself, but I was keeping all my thoughts to myself there, Chantel. You just tune it out me. But yeah, it amazed me the amount of people that were more supportive of witchcraft and Satanism and things like that. That were,
Really.
uh-huh. I was actually expecting to get a pile of abuse, but in return I actually get a pile of, yeah, this is actually really interesting. I think it's because you find obviously there's different paths,
Yeah.
obviously in witchcraft and Wiccan and pagan and Satanism. You don't actually realise how many paths there is over a general consensus until you actually start looking.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow, there's that many
so that's
paths, you know?
that's better. It's just that light kept switching itself off, and I'm fed up of pressing the button, so I'll put this one on. Yeah, so it's interesting though because witchcraft only the name the witchcraft people use that as an excuse, I think, just to get rid of women that they didn't want around. And I think over the years and more today, they use that word witchcraft within the paganism thing because I don't believe witches existed before that.
Mhm.
They just don't exist. Well, today they exist, but in a different way. But back then, they just didn't exist. It was the name given to these women just so they could despite them, really.
Mhm.
Um, so
But
you burned heretics. We also hung them as well, William. We didn't burn that many people here in England. It wasn't our thing.
look at, was there no a guy reading for Google that was called Matthew Hopkins, and he was an unsuccessful lawyer. Um, he
That's
became
him.
known as the
Which
Witchfinder
find a
General.
general. That's him.
Aye, he had 68 people put to death in Bury St Edmunds alone, and 19 hung at Chelmsford.
Chelmsford.
Aye, in a
Yeah.
single day. After Chelmsford, he set off for Norfolk in Suffolk. Um, it's crazy. Like I wonder if they didn't get it legalised, would it still go on the day where you get hung for being a witch?
I think I think after a while it became out of fashion because Matthew Hopkins had gone round and killed so many women and men
Mhm.
and children for witchcraft
Hey, Bonnie.
that there was nobody left to accuse. They were all like, well, they're fed up of paying Matthew Hopkins, so it sort of died a death with him. Matthew Hopkins is from Essex. He's from Manningtree, and
Mhm.
he became quite ill and he couldn't go out and work anymore. It was falling out of favour, and he actually died. He died of his illness, and he was penniless when he died. So all the money that he made from killing witches, and he died a penniless man. Now he had what they called a pauper's grave. He was interred into the ground. He wasn't put on consecrated ground in the end. He wasn't buried in a churchyard, as some people seem to think. He was actually put on the edge of a farmer's field. Now,
Wow.
since then, the land has been sold off and developers have moved on, and his grave is situated in somebody's back garden, let's just say.
Oh wow.
And Dan has found the very spot where he was supposed to be interred, and we are contacting the owners of said property to see if we could just sit and investigate the garden, and if they would let us dig it up. Maybe, you never know, but we'll never ever reveal where that place is because somebody actually lives there.
Aye.
But
No, I totally get that, especially if it's, as you say, it's somebody's house, you know what I mean, and you don't
yeah.
want Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Aunt Sally traipsing early tap each other to try and get to the women. I can
but
imagine. I
but
can imagine it.
the irony of it, though, the fact that he made all this money from killing witches. He died a pauper. He
Mhm.
became ill and died, and then he wasn't buried on consecrated ground. He was buried on unconsecrated ground, and he's just remembered for being this sadist through history, basically killing all these
Mhm.
women. So
We,
fitting end, I think.
yeah, exactly. Witches' bodies were burned, sorry, but they were strangled to death first in Scotland.
Or were they?
They were strangled to death first and then burned. Or some of them were actually just burned alive. You know, I'm saying it like it's an everyday thing. I don't mean it
Yeah,
to sound
yeah.
like it's
Just
a.
Just get a burning. We had a boiling in Kings Lynn in the market square.
Mhm.
There was a boiling that took place. So they built up the fire, the big thing, and they put somebody inside and they boiled them. And I believe it was a woman that was boiled, but not for witchcraft or being a heretic or anything like that. It was over something else that she was
Wow.
boiled. But that was the only other one. And pressing. Oh, death by pressing. So they'd put big stones or big weights on top of
Uh-huh.
the body. Um, they would press people, and basically they were crushed to death. Um, so yeah.
Is Jenny still on tomorrow's show? Yes, Grandad and Grandma's away. So the kids, well, I would say the kids are coming out to play, but it's one kid and it's myself. And guess what? I get to say what I want. Woohoo!
You can say what you want anyway. We don't care. You
uh,
know what? You know us.
I'm putting Grandma and Grandad in a retirement home for respite while I have fun with the show. Woo-hoo-hoo. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely on Chantel. But yeah, I mean, it is an interesting subject. I've always been fascinated with witchcraft and that. So I think if when it comes to looking at all the religions, witchcraft I find quite relaxing and quite therapeutic.
Do you know witchcraft back then in the 15th century and earlier? It didn't really exist. Like the word witchcraft didn't even exist. Witches didn't. The words didn't really sort of exist here.
Mhm.
They had old traditions and the pagan ways. And people that didn't conform with what the king was instructing you had to be, or that particular monarch at the time. It was more sort of like the peasants, the peasants' religion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know,
And um, and so, like, to bring it fast forward today in modern history, witchcraft has taken up a sort of vibe of its own. So herbalism, you don't hear somebody say too much like I'm a herbalist. Say I'm Wiccan or I'm a pagan, or
yep,
you know, or because not all Wiccans are witches. Was it not all? Yeah, not all Wiccans are
yep,
witches.
no, and no, all witches are Wiccan.
Wiccan. So it's a mind-boggling sort of pathway to tread now. So what actually is a witch today? If she does spells, I mean that's boiling herbs and stuff.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean that you're a witch, but I suppose putting intention into what you're doing and
Yeah,
involving
I must admit, um, the thought of doing spells worries me because I always say what you give out will come back to you threefold worth. So if you have good
oh
intentions in
yeah,
here,
but only if you believe that though.
that's true. That's true. But here's a question, Viv, right? We talk about religions and we talk about witches in different paths and different things. And it was an interesting one, and I can't remember where I seen it or what group I'd seen it on, but it was definitely, I think, it was a really interesting question. And one of the questions was about Satanism becoming an actual accepted religion. What's your thoughts on that one, Viv?
It already is. It already is, and it depends on what path of Satanism that you follow, because there are many different pathways of Satanism. For example, the Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple. Then you have these little other ones
Do you
that
know, Viv? I didn't realise how when when I thought of Satanism, I thought of it one way, but when I actually delved into it, and people were talking about the left hand, the right
hand of
hand
God,
side,
yeah,
Thelma, what's the other one that begins with an L? Is it Lu?
the Luciferian,
That's it.
the
And
Golden Dawn.
there was so many paths. I just I couldn't like, I couldn't believe it because I was thinking, oh wow, when I thought of Satanism, I took it as one thing. But as I said, when I dive deeper down in, then you've got all the different pockets.
Yeah. And it's
It's
the
like,
same with
wow.
witchcraft, because you have people that are just more the theory side. You have people that practice at home, like the lone witch or the lone Satanist.
Uh,
You also
solid, solid. I
solitary
want to
witch.
say solid. I want to say solitaire for some reason. That's the card game, but I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
then
going witches card games, but you know.
I've heard of a hedge witch, which is a witch that goes out to forage to fill her larder to create the spells.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the kitchen witch, who just puts her incantations into anything that she cooks and
Well,
bakes in her kitchen.
I can't honestly say I would ever be a kitchen witch because I burn stuff. So
You can't cook, yeah.
you're talking to a lady who attempted a chicken curry and thought it was like mince, and you could go and stir it every half an hour and went back in the pot. It was burnt at the moment.
But then you have the Wiccan side of it. So if you mix the witchcraft in with the Wiccan way, you
Mm-hmm.
have all the sabbats, the rituals. I think there's 8 of them every year, isn't there, that they have to
There is
celebrate?
high.
So not all Wiccans are witches, and not all witches are Wiccans. So
Yep.
it depends on, again, and the same with Satanism, what pathways they're following and what they're doing. And I know today there are not many witches that go skyclad. And if you ask people what skyclad is, they say, I can't tell you. Skyclad is when they do rituals and they're out lighting bonfires and celebrating with the light of the bonfire. They actually go naked.
Well,
That's
do
called
you know, funny
skyclad.
enough, do you know, that's funny enough what I thought you were meaning there. Do you know,
Yeah.
when I speak to my friend, right, me and my friend absolutely rip each other, and I mean tear each other apart. We call each other like big easted names. He's English and I'm Scottish, and we just call each other for everything. And he'll always say to me, how's the naked dancing in the moonlight? I says, oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I says, I'm surprised you've not seen me drive by in the broom past your window. Do you know, I knew that's what you meant there, but I wasn't too sure. I just wanted a wee bit of
Do you know,
clarity.
my broom is on the wall. Do you want to see it?
Oh yes, let me see your broom.
Tell me if you see it, because I'm not going to be able to see what you see, because I've got
Uh,
wires here.
I
So
can.
let me just.
Is that? Oh, I see your broom now. Your witch.
That's my that's my broom on the wall. It's a decorative piece that a friend of mine made me. She's over in Ireland. She sprayed it and put sparkles on it and
Oh,
put ribbons on it and roses and petals and Christ knows what else on it. And it's so pretty. I just put it up on the wall.
as it's actually a cracking broom. I must admit, I've not got a broom, but what I have got is Wait, I can reach over and get it. This will be great for 100. As I make a noise.
Oh, you've got a cauldron. Oh,
Yep.
wow.
I asked my man, I actually asked him to get me the tiny one, and this is what he got me.
That's brilliant.
And I'll tell you, it's quite heavy.
Yeah, I can imagine. So Chantel's asking me, is that the Nimbus 2000? Actually, no. This one was, it predated the Nimbus 2000 by 20 years. So it doesn't go that fast.
It's okay. That's what her and Dan will be off playing with in the nursing home tomorrow night.
It's
The broom.
actually it's Gary Bradfield's fault, because I sent him the link and I said to him he's more than welcome to come on and tell them what's happening this weekend. But I don't know whether he will or not. But he's there in the chat.
Aye, because I forgot you're away this weekend as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're entertaining a certain person from America.
Ah,
Gary's got a big event, and he's coming to stay with me. Gary's coming with Sharon. on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, Brian's coming here, and then on Friday we're off to where are we off to Friday? Ashwell Prison.
Right.
Ashwell Prison, and then on Saturday lunchtime, Derby Jail. Saturday evening at the Galleries of Justice. So
You're a busy, busy bee, my love.
it's,
But yeah. Oh, is he coming on?
he's he's got to put his little one to bed, so I don't think he's going to be
Oh,
coming on.
oh.
But
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting subject. I love, like as I said, I love seeing all the different paths. In fact, Robin put up that's why I explained my form of witchcraft. Is that there's thousands of different paths up the mountain. No single path is perfect or the best or right path. Exactly, and I mean, you see a lot of groups. I mean, I'm in over 1,000 odd groups. Don't even ask me how I even accumulated that. I think it was just people and me being too nice and just agreeing and letting myself in instead of saying reject. And
yeah,
I'm in a lot of witches groups, and you see a lot of people saying, what path should I be in? As I say, follow your own path. I was always told there's no right or wrong, just follow
the
your
thing is,
path.
the thing is, I think how can you know what path is right for you unless you look at all these different types?
Yep.
So unless you know about them and look at them, how would you know? I mean, there were days back in the 70s, the 60s, and the 70s, it was very popular to join a coven.
Yep.
And these covens would all dress in black, and they'd go out into the forest and they'd do stuff around a bonfire and chant and scare people that used to go dogging or whatever, But, that was really popular. Today, in 2022, you hardly see that anymore. Or if it does still happen, it's been driven so far underground that people won't talk about it. Like there's forms of Satanism that, again, that is driven so far underground that they
Mhm.
won't talk about. You'll find it very difficult for these people that do practice this. They won't talk about it. But then you'll get the people that are the faddy types that in their 20s they follow witchcraft, but in their 30s, oh no, I've given all that up.
You, yeah, the one that, I mean, a lot of people, I think, for the Satanist point of view, did you?
Do you know what that is, Chantel?
Yeah, what is dogging, Chantel? Give us a definition.
She might not know because she's in South Africa. She might not know what our terminology is about.
Don't look it up then. But with Satanism, I think it's a lot today as well. When I read newspapers and things like that, they always amuse me, right? If any animals get killed in the headline, you'll see Satanists kill sheep. Well, how the hell do you know that puppy play part?
Exactly.
It's like, how do you know it was Satanists? How do you know they're just no wee assholes that? How do you know it's
It's
the kids? Do not. Chantel's killing me here. Do not Google dogging.
Chantel. Google dogging or look it up on RedTube.
Aye, isn't dogging the whole point of the coven?
No, this is our kid.
Oh no, not the definition. But
How did we get to witches to dogging?
that was you, Vivian. See, this is why you're getting into that home tomorrow for respite. Um, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to like thing, I think that's why Satanists are more reluctant to come forward, because it's you get the whole, the newspaper articles, you get I mean, I've seen it in witch groups. Like a lot of people might say that they're grey witches, like myself. Well, it's like kind of in between the middle, and that sometimes the cheek that you get back to that, and I think it's like, as Emma said earlier on, you can't have light without dark.
No. Gary's put up a post here. People don't talk about the Lowestoft witches, but without the trial of the Lowestoft witches and the publication of the trial report, then the infamous witch trial Salem in 1692 may have never happened. Well, we just said about the Warboys
Yeah,
witches is exactly the same. And that was 100 years earlier than that.
yeah.
Cotton Mather states that when the magistrates at Solms were looking for a percentage in allowing so-called spectral evidence, they consulted the Trial of Riches booklet. I think that you might also find that's fine, Gary. What's it called? I can't even pronounce it. Malavris Malakaran book.
I've never heard of that one. I'm going to look that up.
That's also got something. That's also got some. I'm just
I know.
reading Chantel's note.
I
Oh, I'm
know.
going to check your search history bit.
There
RedTube. Look up
you
dogging.
go.
Yeah, there are conflicting stories, but you'll also see that there is the famous Lancaster witches or the
Yep.
Pendle witches.
Oh, do you know, I've always wanted to go to Pendle Hill just to see it. That I would always, I'm fascinated.
Oh, here we go. Malleus Maleficarum. I got
I'm
the
glad.
second bit right.
I'm glad that you said it because there's no way I would have been able to pronounce that.
But the Pendle witches of 1612.
Hmm.
Um, that was also a little bit later than the Warboys witches and Matthew Hopkins,
Yep.
but the 1612 Pendle witches. I mean, those poor women. And there was a young girl who was included in them. I think was there six of them, 6 or 7 of them.
I think it was. We've been with Pendle Hill. I would need to check that up actually.
But there was a young girl. I think she was only about 14. She was quite young, and she was also accused. She was one of the witches, but they were also treated quite badly and taken to Lancaster
Hmm.
prison.
It was
Uh,
10 Pendle witches.
10.
10. Aye, there's the 10, yeah. But as it was really an interesting one. It's definitely, I would love to go there just to see it and have a view. Apparently, it's really really beautiful at Pendle Hill.
It is very beautiful. The cell where they held the Pendle witches at Lancaster Castle is still there. It's
Oh
only
wow!
very small. It's only very small, but they were taken away from Lancaster Castle and then they were executed. But and I think they're fighting. They're doing some petition against the government to have all these women pardoned
Uh,
from witchcraft. Yeah.
I think is it up here in Scotland? I don't know if it was the very last witch that they burned, or it was one of the witches. They've got like a monument to them.
Ah, is that one at a seaside town?
I'm actually quite sure because I can remember seeing.
It was at a seaside town, and weren't they waiting, or they were accused of changing the weather or something, and fishermen dying or some, and
Uh,
that's why they were accused of witchcraft.
just looking just now. But aye, because that's bugging me the name yet. Because I do remember seeing, because when I did research for an article, there was witches. Aye, there's um, one in Edinburgh called Witches Well.
Yeah.
The other one's
Rob,
in Paisley,
Robin's saying, is that Maggie's wall?
Maggie's Wall. Wait now to. Um,
I don't
it
know.
could, it actually could be Robin. Um, But yeah, you will find round in Scotland. Aye, Maggie's Wall, that's actually now that it's came to me is in Perthshire. Um, and it said Maggie Wall burned here in 1657
Yeah.
is a witch. But it's amazing that they've killed these people and now they've put up wee monuments for them,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
will find them around Scotland. Um,
The
you've
witch's
even
hammer used to
which
persecute the witches for a very long time.
yep.
Robin Chantal says, "Say Malleus Maleficarum 3 times fast."
Oh, you've got no chance, Chantel. I've not got a tongue. I'm like, Robert.
And try not to say expecto patronum afterwards. Robin said that was literally the first thing I thought after reading Malleus Maleficarum. Von says, "I'm sure the Scottish witches have been pardoned."
They probably have, and that's probably why their wee mediums are there. But as I said, we've got all different ones like round Scotland. I didn't actually realise how many there is, and they're all about Scotland.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, they did actually do a memorial for the last woman that they burnt, the last witch, the very last person to be legally burnt for witchcraft. Um, she was actually what I forgot to mention was she was actually stripped hard and then burned alive.
Was she tarred first, did you say?
She was stripped hard and then burned alive.
Ouch. The tarring
Um,
itself must have been awful.
I know I'm actually sitting here like that. Um, but I think there was actually a dispute about when the actual date happened, whether it was 1722 or 1727. But yeah, they got a lot of sore
That's
things.
relatively that's relatively later on in our history. It's still relatively early history for
Yeah.
us. So it wasn't that long ago when you think about it that they were
No,
still
no,
doing.
actually, really, when you actually think about it and think about when it was actually legalised.
Yeah,
And there is actually one in the Orkney Islands. There was 19 women and one man accused of worshipping their cult, and they went on trial in the country between 1594 and 1645, with 9 of them sentenced to death by hanging at the stake.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it is an actually really interesting subject when
Mm.
you dive into the
I
whole
think
twist
it
of it.
it was basically used as a tool back then just to get rid of people for the sake of getting rid of them, and it was an excuse that
Mm-hmm.
was conjured up just to get rid of them. For whatever reasons, the village didn't like this woman, or they
Yeah.
didn't like this family, or these people were far too rich, so we need to get rid of them. Or do you know what I mean? Or there was something that they didn't like, or they wanted their land, or I
Uh,
want to move into their house, and so it was a tool used against people. But when you sort of jump forward to today's day,
uh-huh.
you have these people that are witches, that are really herbalists, that help people,
Yeah.
reflexology, people that are into their herbs and their fragrances and their what do you call them, aroma essences, um, candles, because
Yeah.
they use all these things and intention and want to help people. It's now become as what we call witchcraft. But is
Yeah.
it? Is it though?
Do you know, to be fair, like my man bought me this thing off of Amazon. It was all different like herbal stuff. It was different ingredients. Um and people always talk about mugwort. Being like, if you want elusive dreaming, then mugwort's your sport, and I'm like, no, thank you.
You see, like where I come from in India, now bearing in mind it's a different tradition. Like I'm half and half. My mum's English and my dad's Indian. So in the Indian and the Sikh religion, they would use a lot of incense.
Hmm.
They would burn a lot of that in the temples. And this is not the Hindu temples. I'm talking about Sikh temples. they would use around the house, different fragrances and incense. If you weren't well, you would have a herbal tea,
Yeah.
cardamom pods, masala. They would put all that in, in tea. And that goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Now, if you do it today, you make this tea infusion in a cauldron and you drink that and it's supposed to heal you. Isn't that a form of witchcraft?
Well, I if you think about in like a load of people, there's a lot of people actually go for natural healing, rather than over the counter stuff. They'll go for actual. I actually didn't think it like that, to be fair.
Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. Now, that's quite a controversial topic, and also South African Hutu medicine,
Or the
right? So,
voodoo,
not voodoo, but Hutu.
hoodoo.
Um, so, the Chinese were using things like a bird's nest soup. That it's a delicacy that they eat anyway, but they would also import things like rhino horn, ivory. They would grind that up and make medicines with that. I know with Hutu medicine, South African muti. If you, let's say, you said that you were suffering with your eyes, you had hay fever and you were
Yeah.
suffering with your eyes, and you needed this medicine to help you heal your eyes. They
Uh-huh.
would go, they would go and kill a child and take the eyeballs and make medicine with the
Oh my
child's
God.
eyes and give it to you, and you're supposed to take on that the presence of the. So again, they call that a form of witchcraft, or maybe it's more than witchcraft. I don't know. It's what I call the darker side. But these
That,
things still happens to this day, I'm
oh,
afraid.
wow. I mean, I'm fascinated. I mean, it's not just looking at like people in the UK's like, sort of witchcraft in their terms, but looking at different, as you say, looking at different ones abroad, like Africa, the China, all the different types. It's all
Yeah,
interesting and fascinating stuff, really. I'm
yeah,
going to make some Christians angry by saying this. Technically, prayer is a form of witchcraft. You're sending your attentions and requests out to some unseen force in the sky. This is very true. I think also what Christians get very upset about is the whole argument over Christmas. Is it a
yeah.
pagan holiday or is it a Christian holiday?
Well, there was the holiday of Yule that happens on the solstice, the last solstice of the year, which
Yeah,
is around the 21st of December, isn't it? But when
yeah,
it comes to the Christians taking on pagan traditions, I think if you go back even further than the pagans, I think that you'll find a lot of the traditions were taken from places like Africa, Ethiopia, the Middle East. These traditions come from there. So there is an older religion even than the Christians. The Islamic religion is older than Christianity, for example. So it depends how far back you want to go. But I think any thoughts or prayers or words that you put out with intention and in a form of prayer doesn't necessarily come from Christianity. Full stop. Maybe I've upset Christians now, but
mm.
hey ho.
Do you know, right? I've met, and this is no harm to America, but I've met a lot of people online. Not met them personally, but met them as in what, let's see them post in the group. Do you know some of them, believe it or not, are still what they class as in witchcraft and Wiccan pagan or whatever is a closet witch.
Closet
Um,
witch.
aye, as in, you know, it always made me laugh, right, when somebody says a closet witch, right? But you find most of them are nearly Americans.
But you know what though? That amazes me because when you think of the LGBT community,
Hmm.
they have fought, gone to prison, and died to be able to live freely and come out of the closet, so to speak.
Yeah.
Why would an individual, and I'm not talking about the LGBT community now,
Uh huh.
why would an individual not be open and free about what they practice or what they believe in. You know, as long as you're not ramming it down somebody else's throat, be proud of what you do. Why would you put it into the closet? You have no right then to it being or saying that you're even that if you're not willing to sort of be proud about, you know, it's like you're trying to hide the fact that you do this because you're ashamed of it. So if that's the case, then don't bother doing it. That's
Believe
my
it or not,
opinion.
believe it or not, actually, Viv, there's actually, and do you know, I actually asked this question, right, in the group, and I was actually, answered, but I was like that, you have Christian witches, and what I said to
Yeah,
the thing was, if you're a Christian witch, do you actually still believe in God? It was
yeah.
like, and that was no me being offensive, that was me being curious about, like, what is the term Christian witch?
Robin's saying, for fear of repercussions from intolerable
Normal
people, it's not
people.
a shame. Do you know what? It doesn't matter. You would if you were out there calling yourself a closet witch, you wouldn't be. If that was the case, Robin, you wouldn't call yourself a closet witch. You wouldn't say anything. So that's a contradiction in itself. Do you see what I'm saying? There are those that don't discuss it because of repercussions, like we talked about the Satanists earlier on. But
Yeah,
this is not what we're talking about. These are people that are calling themselves closet witches. So
and it's
why mention it?
why it's became the 21st century now, and I think, do you know, there's a lot of people, and I even found it when I did the article, a lot of people would rather follow a darker path than follow the Christian, because they said when you're following the darker path, as you say, you don't get it rammed down your throat. You follow the Christian, and you're getting it constantly rammed down your throat. I think it's more about the faith in the higher power in any religion. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
Chantel's right. She said it's more about the faith in a higher power in any religion. It doesn't matter what you are in any religion. You know, you can believe in.
I was just saying why somebody would be
Yeah,
close.
yeah. She misunderstood. Yeah, no,
That's right.
that's
Everybody's
fine.
got their opinion.
But you know,
Um,
you could worship my little piggy money box so long as you believed in this little piggy in a school uniform. It
oh,
wouldn't matter. You have that faith, and that's what you believe in. Good luck to you. You know, that's your business. So long as you don't hurt anybody,
mhm,
you're not killing anybody. Do what you want.
mhm.
Doesn't matter.
I, I
You
think I think the thing that annoys me, and I don't know if Robin will have the same opinion as I, but what really annoys me is when people, when they go looking for spells, and it is the most biggest one that they go for, and it's not even money. How
love.
can I get my love spell? How, how can I make somebody fall in love with me? How can I get my ex back? You s- I'm a firm believer you can't make somebody love you. If they don't love you, they don't love you.
Yeah.
If you want your ex back, an ex is for a reason.
Will the piggy provide unlimited bacon? Maybe, if you worship it. Who knows? Or it could be the Church of Bacon.
That sounds good. I'll buy in for that for 12%.
But no, it's a funny thing. But you know, in today's day, though, people have taken, I think, witchcraft one step sort of further, where they do their own rituals. They're not even necessarily following guided rituals. They do their own, which is great,
Yep.
you know. And I think they do classes. They teach people. They become bigger and bigger and have their own groups, which is great, you know. And again, I can't stress enough, so long as they're not hurting anybody else, um, do what you want,
Yeah, you know.
you know.
Robin says love. I agree. I agree 100%. Love spells are just a form of harming yourself and others.
You've
I've
got,
just never bought into the whole love spell. That's like me saying, "Can I have a love spell to put on Dan?" I would just
oh, hang
never
on.
have.
I think I got a book on spell somewhere.
I've got quite a few books actually, believe it or not. Some of them are paranormal, and some of them are actually quite.
It's a little pink book like that, and it's actually signed by the author. I never didn't even know who she was. She was actually at the bookshop there signing
Oh wow!
books, and somebody sort of bought it for me. And I said to this woman, I said, "You're the author of this?" She went, "Yeah, I go sign that for me." She did. It's a load of rubbish, to be honest. Absolute load of rubbish. But I bought it because the author was there. Well, it was bought for me because the author was there.
There is a love
Um,
potion. It's called Roofies.
but
um,
again, it doesn't matter what you follow, what you
yeah,
do. I think it's intent, isn't it? At the end of the day, and
definitely.
people say, "Be careful what you put out because it will come back to you fourfold." Well, that's only if you believe it. Absolutely, if you believe it. I know people that have done things with um, lamb's hearts and iron spikes and
Oh,
buried them. Yeah, some real bad shit. And I don't believe in it, but they did, and apparently, yeah, stuff happened that I can't explain over
oh,
a period of 5 years. But yeah, it's if you believe in it, it will work. If you don't, and it's the same with curses. If you believe in them, then the curse will work. If you don't believe in curses, then they don't. It's simple as that.
it's the power. It all comes down to the power of suggestion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But but yeah, it's definitely it is an interesting subject.
It is, isn't it?
We've picked a good one for tonight, and Grandad's and Boys missed it.
Well, it's essentially manifestation, isn't it? The plot of
Plot
the
of
book, the secret. Yeah,
aye,
exactly, exactly.
the Jar of Doom.
We have
Like
the jar of doom. This won't be next. Yeah, we could do this next week. I'll be on
yeah,
next week
right. So right, let me get this in my head. Right, so tomorrow I'm with Jenny. Friday there is no show, and then Tuesday we're back.
if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'll be fine. I'll be here.
Let's see what the jar of doom says.
I've been practicing hoodoo for a while. There are a bunch of spells for love and stuff in hoodoo, and almost all of them have a comment of, "Are you really sure you want to do this?" Best way, Robin. Right, stop! What's next week's subject? I bet you this is one of the funny ones I've picked. Energies and hauntings. That's a good one for a show.
That'd be interesting. Do you know? Oh, Dan and I was out on a. I'll tell you this. It's just so funny. It's got nothing to do with witches, but it'll make you laugh. Um, Dan and I were out on an investigation on Saturday, and we were in a place, and he sat down on a bench, and I was on a table, sitting on a chair. He was at the back of the room, sitting on a bench, and he jumped up, and he's a big bloke. He jumped up off the bench. He went, "Somebody's just touched my arse." There was nobody around him. He said, "I
Maybe
swear."
that,
He said,
maybe
"I felt
that
the." He said, "I felt
guy
the
came back
hand."
to watch him.
He said, "I felt the hand go round, the cheek of his back." I said, "Oh, do you know the first thing I said to him? Oh, you lucky devil! Can you get them to do it to me?"
Well, I tell you something, they're a lucky, lucky devil. I want to know who's grabbing his arse.
Hi,
Hi
Kelly.
Kayla, how you doing? What was I going to say to you? I watched your video, the one with the when you were tasting that drink. That was absolutely
Oh,
hilarious.
we tasted the new Coca-Cola marshmallow can that they've bought out. It's zero sugar. And we thought, oh, marshmallow, oh, that'll be a nice treat. We'll try it live on air just to review it for people. And it was disgusting.
See when
It was
Dan had me in stitches, so did you, your facials. And it was not even that, it was just the way he turned around and he was like, "It tastes like cow pole."
disgusting.
I was like, what the hell?
It was awful. Well, we drank it because it was there because we were like thirsty. Us, but the taste was disgusting. I wouldn't bother. Don't even bother.
Goes a little hand there. I want to go with next time. No, that is a total dispute. That one.
Yeah, we spoke about that one on the Friday night show.
That.
Sexually active
Oh yeah,
spirits.
you
Yeah.
missed that one. In fact, that's the one that Chantel missed because I gave her a woot woot because she hadn't seen her all night.
Oh, but no. Energies in haunting. So that'll be next week's
Next
topic, and
Tuesday.
we'll let the boys know. Um, but yeah, that'll be that. I think that'll be a good one to talk about.
That actually will be an interesting one. But tomorrow night, guys, grandma and granddad's at the road. Woohoo! One kid's having a party, the other one's at work. So yous are joining me with Jenny Silverville Sinatsi.
How do
I
you
don't know
pronounce
how
the
to
surname? Is that name?
Sinatsi. I'm probably
Sonat.
wrong. I'm probably wrong, but we'll just go with it.
Give her our love. We'll try and
I
pop
will
on
do.
if we can to support you.
Well, what I'll do is I'll just stay with you, always stay with me, and just send the link. And if you want to
We'll
pop
just
on and say hello.
we'll just we'll put some questions in the chat for you for her.
I'll be looking forward to the questions.
Jenny's the best. She's
She
my
has the
human.
best. It's not
She's,
the first time that I've done a show with Jenny. This will be my second time in doing a show with Jenny. I love
yeah,
Jenny.
they'll be putting out mine and Dan's names to muds on Wednesday.
We'll be like, what can we talk about? Well, everybody, we'll talk about Viv and Dan.
Jenny, Jenny will be saying, "Yeah, they're shit. They are."
I'll go pair of bastards.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, no, we'll come and support you for a little while. We'll pop on. Well, I will anyway. I don't know
Awesome.
about Dan, but yeah,
He's tied to the sink doing the dishes, let's face it, that's why he's no here the night.
yeah, he's been married 20 years. That's a big one, isn't it?
That is actually 20 years, it's a long
Mm.
time. When you think of like nowadays in age, 20 years is a long time. Usually the average marriage in the UK lasts 6 months.
Mine's this year. I'll be celebrating 27 years with Andy.
27, oh wow. You need a medal, guys. Medal,
27.
absolute medal.
I haven't killed him yet. Oh dear.
Definitely.
Has anybody got any questions? Robin? Anyone? Chantel?
Or we could just slag the boys since they're not here,
Yeah.
so it's.
Yeah, that Dan Winter had his bum pinched because he fancies himself.
I think that's what it is. I think the ghosts find him as attractive as I do and decided to get a hoink hoink.
And as for Jamie, oh, he's getting a few slaps when I see him just because we can.
That's a face I would never grow tired of. It's skeleton in the most
Oh,
lovingest of ways.
he knows we love him really.
He
We
does.
love both of them very much. But it's nice
Look,
just the girls. It's really nice just the girls coming on
it
and
is
just
actually,
chatting.
it is. I'm not saying that I don't love the boys, but it is. It is quite good tonight. Mind you, Mr. W is tied to the kitchen sink. He needs to do his dishes. I
I think he's
suppose it's.
gone. He's gone to a restaurant tonight. I think so. I don't think he's got any
I
dishes to
hope he's.
wash.
I hope he's wearing his shirt and tie.
I suppose it's not cheating, even if he liked it. Yeah.
I think we should give him a right good roasting when he's back next week.
Shall we do one evening? We can do it on a Friday if you want. The roast of like one week it can be. you, 1 week it'd be me, 1 week it'd be Dan, 1 week it'd be Jamie, and the
That would
other
actually
three
be good.
would just really roast us. What do you
That
think?
that 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 would actually be good. I mean, Friday nights, guys, are good nights. Do you know? I actually finally managed to find the Simply Spooky thing me on YouTube because I typed in Simply Spooky and somebody else came up.
Yeah, you got to keep scrolling down and you see
It
who
wasn't
comes
until
up.
I put Frighteners in at the side and then you guys popped up and I was like, oh, I'm on the telly. I was
Oh,
actually shooting Stephen that
remind
interview.
remind me to. Do you still need the link, Lois, for Wednesday?
Yes, for tomorrow, yes. What I can
Rem-
do is I can do it through my thingy.
Shah, do you want me to? Because I can send you a link, but if I send you this one now, it will be this show. So if I
Uh-huh.
come out and go back in, and then do the thing, and just copy and paste it across to you.
Yep, that's fine. Everybody's like, he's a discussion the show for the morning.
Why not?
Check us out, guys. 8 p.m. start. You ladies are perfect. What could we possibly say to roast you? The boys, on the other hand, here hold my poodle, let me in. With pleasure. With pleasure.
We're missing
Listen,
the
the
cat.
catchphrase up the market. Do
Oh,
you know?
Dan! It's down a market. Down a market.
Do you know I still can't as much as thingy. Mr. Winter still hasn't sent me that voice clip. I'll have to catch him at it.
Also, we found out that Liz Truss, who's running for the Prime Minister of England,
Yes.
Liz Truss, she is the MP for Downham Market.
Oh, you were saying that last week.
Yeah, Downham Market.
See, I think she should have somebody like Dan for a slogan.
For her to go on her campaigns with her Downham Market.
Can you imagine just here? Do you know actually? I can see a vision in my head of this car driving by, and there's Dan hanging out the window with the microphone shouting it.
Yeah, go on, Lizzie, Downham Market.
He's coming back. He's coming back to haunt us.
Oh, oh, he is funny. He is funny, Dan is.
Yeah, he's just
Do you know
the
what?
man.
I had to drive back in. I had to drive back in. I've got bad. When I say bad eyesight, I see halos at night
Mhm.
because I had laser surgery that ultimately failed. So it's left me seeing halos from oncoming traffic or
Aye.
lights. I just see a halo around it. So I have this halo effect. And when it rains, I see not just the halo, but I see the reflection in the road and halos round that. So it's all just one big mass of light with halos.
Oh,
So my nighttime driving can be a bit iffy, but not bad enough to take my license away yet. So
yeah.
anyway, I drove me and Dan back from the investigation. And what happens when we step outside? It's peeing down. I went,
Oh,
oh, for God's sake, Dad. So I put my driving glasses on like you do. I said, Dan, you're going to have to guide me because when the road disappears, just guide me. He goes, what do you mean when the road disappears? I said, because I just see halos. He said, he said, what? I went, seriously, it'll be all right. I said, I'll put my sat nav on, so I've got the general direction of the road. But I said, but if I start panicking, I need you to calm me down. He says, oh, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. We got about halfway home. We're driving along. It's a busy stretch of road, and all I can see is halos, and I can't see the road at all. Dad, the road's disappeared. Keep going. It's going to keep going. I don't have been there'd been a camera in this car. Dan, I can't see the road. It's going, just keep going, just keep going, just drive slowly, just take it easy, just keep going.
do you know? I can just imagine you two ending up in a farmer's field somewhere.
Do you know, I drove home one night and he very nearly killed me because they were laughing so much and so hard. I was laughing so much and so I couldn't help it. Then your eyes start watering, then your glasses steam up, then the windscreen steaming up. So you're undoing the window and putting the aircon on. You do your window wipers and it's all misty. You can't see anything. And I was on a sharp bend that went round like this and then a ditch. Oh, shit!
Do you know that? But I said to my pal one night when we were coming home from investigation, just the two of us, and this, as you say, the windows start to steam. I says, we better get them wiped. I says, MD will be thinking we're up to do some,
Yeah.
well, some dodgy. And I have
And
done it. So you see.
do you know what? I had an 80s CD, right? An 80s CD playing in my car because I don't have Bluetooth in my car. My car's not an up to date one, let's say.
Yeah.
But I love my little Mercedes, and I won't get rid of her. She's lovely. But anyway, so I put my CD in the car, and it's an 80s CD, and I thought, well, that'll be all right for Dan. It does 80s CDs; they don't offend anyone. So I'm poodling along in my car, trying to concentrate on the road, as it is, and I'm all tense like that and stiffened up where I'm concentrating. And he's sitting there singing along to, oh, Viv, do you remember this one? Oh, Viv, do you remember that one? And Viv, who sang this song? Oh, damn, I'm trying to concentrate on the road.
He's wanting the karaoke in the middle of like,
Yeah.
some man, honest to God.
Oh, he
Can't
does
take
make
him
me laugh.
anywhere.
Oh, hello, John. You've decided to
Hello,
come and
John.
join us.
First appearance of the night. Usually you see you about 4 or 5 times a night.
Yeah, it's because he's realised don't sniff the light bulb, you stupid cat. It gets hot and he's going to burn his whiskers.
Poor John. Bye, John.
It's very silly, John is.
Uh,
But it's been a great evening. I've really enjoyed it though.
it's been
So,
a good show. It's
but
definitely been a good show.
we can. I think we should just get the lads on next week and don't tell them what the subject is.
I think we should. In fact, I think we should think of something really cheeky and tell them what the subject. That's fine, Vaughn. Thanks for coming, love.
Thanks,
Um,
Vaughn. See you
we should.
soon.
We should. I think we should really. I've got an idea for to do something to them for a laugh. Just pure for a pure laugh.
Yeah, let's
I'll
just
tell
give
you
them a
after
wind
the
up.
show. Thanks. Thank you,
Thanks, Santa.
Chantel. Thanks,
Number.
you. Never
Don't
thought you'd
stiff
be.
them up. John, just move out there, John. He's a bit
Bye,
of a
John.
hog. He's a bit of a hogger, is our John.
He just loves his mommy.
He just wants to sit here on top of the keyboard. I don't know what that's about with cats, but they do like a keyboard.
Cora loves sitting on top of my laptop all the
Does
time.
he?
She just absolutely see anything that involves her sitting on my stuff that I can't get to, even books. See if I'm reading, I'll come back to the bathroom and she's sitting right on top of my book. So funny.
Wow.
See wee
I know
bitch.
John likes to get inside a bag. Any bag. Paper bag, carrier bag, handbag.
That's a cat thing because Cora's the same, and then she wonders why she gets kicked because we don't know she's there. She's like the secret assassin.
Yeah. Bags and boxes. Right, so we're going to call it a night tonight because it is hot and muggy, and
Yep.
we do need to go and have a cool down. And I'm in this little tiny box room. It's tiny. It's my little office. It's too small to put. Well, you can put a bed in it, but not a very big one. But
Good night, everyone.
thank you, everyone in the chat.
Yep.
Don't forget, tomorrow on Simply Spooky UK Network, you will see the lovely Lois at 8 o'clock talking to Jenny Sullivan Sunashi. And we will be back next week here on the Things Network talking about energies in hauntings. Take it easy, everyone, and have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.